Hello everyone. I welcome all of you for today's discussion on the essay paper of 2025. So this year the question papers was quite interesting. Many people said it's quite easy, some people found it tough, but the truth is UPSC continues with its legacy, the legacy of philosophical topics which has started since 2018. Earlier it was just one section. In between UPSC kept experimenting with the second section also. 2021 proved to be the toughest year because the vocabulary and the jargons that were used was also tedious for students. So compared to 2021, we can say this year's question paper was relatively easier. But yes, in general, students who have a trouble in interpretative skills, for them this question paper might not be so easy. It would be competent in nature. So when we are talking about this specific question associated with essay 2025, we all can first identify what are the nature of questions, what is the language of the question that we come across. So the section A, from where we had to choose one, the topics were as follows, as all of you can see. So it was truth knows no color. Then you have the supreme art of war to subdue the enemy without fighting. Now, when we are talking about these topics like truth knows no color or the supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting, you will be like reflecting upon all the given topics in greater detail just in a few moments. Okay, so have patience. Let us first get introduced to the topics, what they are, what has been asked, what are the priority areas, and then every single topic I'll discuss very briefly. What does the topic imply and what could have been incorporated as the content. Furthermore, I will also share some content associated with it, and when the essay lectures are scheduled and you all are attending it, you will get substantiation of the content further, whereby I can provide it in the form of handouts. Here, when we are reflecting upon the given topics, there are several sources related to each quotation. I'll be quoting that as well, and the thematic similarity with previous year questions shall also be discussed, because those students who say that, oh, the essay topics are very unpredictable. Well, the sentence and the language can be unpredictable, but the themes are quite repetitive. So I'll encourage all of you to understand and interpret the themes correctly. So here, when we are talking about these topics and we are going ahead with it, you can just see this. Then there is this thought finds a world and creates one also. Last question of section A is best lessons are learnt through bitter experiences. Then comes section B. Let us see what is it. So it's saying muddy waters. So muddy water is best cleared by leaving it alone. The years teach much which the days never know. Now you might be finding once in a while the language going haywire, like for example, here you can see the word color. The question truth knows no color. British English says C-O-L-O-U-R. We follow the British English. But for the first time American English was used in the question paper, and that might be surprising a few of you. But that's how you can see the language is undergoing the transition. So when we are reflecting upon the sentence is the original quotation associated with this one, the years teach much which the days never know. The original quotation is slightly different from the version that has been written over here. Then it is best to see life as a journey, not as a destination. And last but not the least, we can see contentment is natural worth, not natural wealth. Luxury is artificial poverty. So we'll be reflecting upon each topic bit by bit. So let us understand the themes, and along with the themes, the content. So the very first topic, when we start with it, that is truth knows no color. So what is the thematic similarity with the previous year questions when we are talking about it? So we all can see the topic like truth knows no color. So truth knows no color, the idea of truth, the idea of wisdom, what is it that we need to rely upon? So wisdom finds truth. It was asked in 2019. Simultaneously, you can see values are not what humanity is, but what humanity ought to be. So the aspiration related to what ought to be there. So whatever we aspire for ought to be guided by truth. And that's how you can see that how we are valuing truth as an ideal, an aspiration for life. Reality does not conform to the ideal. What is the ideal? What is the standard? What is the perfection that is associated with truth itself? And then we can see, but confirms it. Okay, so reality does not conform to the ideal, but confirms it. 2018 question. That means reality does not conform to the ideal. Reality confirms the ideal. Right? So the interpretation of it, whereby truth and the dimension of perception, how they interplay, how our idea of what ought to be there comes in conflict with what we experience in reality. That is what is asked in this previous year question 2018, which gets connected to our core topic, that is truth knows no color. Right? I generally, whenever I take the lessons, the lectures, I discuss the themes very thoroughly, and I explain what goes into the content or the interpretation of those core topics. Now here, being specific to the topic, what all could have been incorporated when we talk about truth knows no color. So this statement, many people, they give the credit to Socrates. Again, that's debatable whether Socrates truly spoke it or not. Some people say, oh, on brainy quotes, the credit has been given to Socrates, but the authentic verification of this fact was not done, so I refrained from incorporating it in the slide. Now here, when you are finding this, the truth has no color, when we are talking about this given dimension, we can see that when we are talking about the idea of ultimate truth is something which is universal, impartial. It cannot be defined per se by any kind of, we can consider, social, political, racial, or we can say ideological affiliations, right? So in this given dimension, we can understand that truth is basically emphasizing the idea of justice, ethics, isn't it? The truth is emphasizing on factual reality, the factual reality which is transcending all the human construct perceptions that we are surrounded by. So the very perception of truth is different from the ideal of truth, right? So truth has no color. Truth cannot be maligned with our, we can say, faint interpretations, with our judgments, right? With our, we can say, biased or colored opinions. So that is something which is said. So when it has no color, then what is it that truth is guided by? So truth is guided by scientific perception and moral imperatives. We can talk about it both. Science gives us logical thinking, rational thinking, and moral perception, it strengthens the possibility of societal ideals, the ethical principles, the ethos, the values that needs to be safeguarded or reflected. So truth needs to be treating all the people equally in all circumstances without any bias. All right. And again, we can understand that when it is saying truth has no color. So when does truth attain a color? When truth, we all understand that we arrive at a truth, means truth needs to be interpreted. And yes, there is the game. When we have to interpret the truth, when we have to arrive at the truth, in the process, biased, prejudiced interpretations can color our opinion. And that is how we can connect with the given dimension, that how truth can get distorted, because it is many a times hidden, or it is sometimes under the layer. You have to make an effort to interpret it, right? So as Albert Einstein had said, that one has to make an effort to arrive at truth. So that's how you can connect with the idea. So truth can be like delayed or distorted, sometimes hidden, and or sometimes we can see that there can be leaders, there can be rulers, or there can be media houses which can try to deny the truth or hide the truth, and that's how the perception can get faulty. So history, it has showed us that whenever injustice has to occur, truth will be played with, truth will be fooled around with, right? So when we are talking about the moral collapse of a society, we all can connect with the given idea associated with truth being played around, prejudice taking over truth, right? So as I would like to quote Martin Luther King, that he had also said, we had also observed that the art of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. And when it is not bending towards justice, truth becomes colored. All right. Gandhi, you can recall the Durban to Pretoria in South Africa when he was traveling. So the train journey from Durban to Pretoria, there also we all could see that it was when he was thrown out of the, we can say, wagon. At that time the train, like we can say coach, not the wagon, the coach, at that time we all could see that he actually got into the reality of questioning that what is the purpose? What is the purpose of the fight? Am I going to seek a personal legal, like let's say compensation, or is this fight not exclusive to me? There are hundreds and thousands of people who suffer from this problem. So in such a situation, what can be the dimension which needs to be taken care of? All right. And in that, when we start exploring the given insights, we realize that he arrived at the idea that this is not a personal fight. This is a fight that I have to fight for all the people of color. And when he fought for them, guided by the principles of justice, guided by the principles of non-violence, it is then that Satyagraha is born. It is then that from Mahatma, like we can see, Mohandas becomes Mahatma. So the journey unfolds. It is only when a person is in the quest of truth. So that's what we all can connect with when we are discussing the given idea of truth, whereby we are guided by humanity, okay? And when we are guided by humanity towards, we can say, freedom and justice. So I hope all of you can connect with this given perception. Furthermore, when we are talking about the second topic, let us try to understand what the second topic is gauging with. So this is saying that the supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting, right? Let us see the thematic like comparisons associated with the topic. So with great power comes great responsibility. Right? Now you see this, the thematic similarity between the two. The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. Means without fighting, you are yet able to suppress the enemy. You are yet able to control the enemy, right? So this theme can be connected to with great power comes great responsibility. All right. So with great power comes great responsibility. I hope all of you can connect the two with respect to the thematic component, right? You can understand that bit. All right. Then we are further reflecting upon this, and then we can connect it with yet another topic. That is, character of an institution is reflected in its leader. Okay. So when we are talking about character of an institution is reflected in its leader. If the character is high, the leader will not engage in war. If the character is, like let's say, shallow, then in that situation, the leader will engage in, we can say, rushed up decisions which may lead to war. That's how it is connected to the theme of this question that was asked in 2015. It is connected to this year's question, and that's why like engaging with previous year question themes is essential. All right. Simultaneously, you can have this 2023 question. Visionary decision making happens at the intersection of intuition and logic. Visionary decision making will save you from war. So I hope you can see the thematic similarity. That is, the core ethical principles, the core ideas will remain the same. The engagement, the examples, maybe a few dimensions will be different, but the core will remain the same. And that's the beauty. Again, so when we are talking about it, this is taken from Sun Tzu, his book, The Art of War, very popularly sold on different bookstalls. And I think a lot of you were purchasing that book also out of sheer curiosity. So this Chinese philosopher's quotation was taken up by UPSC, and he gave this interesting quotation so that the examiner can check whether you have strategic thinking in terms of, because India also underwent a war with Pakistan. Like Russia and Ukraine, the strain is undergoing. We can see Israel and Palestine issue is constantly ever boiling. In such a scenario, what is your perception towards war? As a statesman, are you refined enough or not? That is put to test over here when we reflect upon questions like these. So we can see that when we are going through this quotation, it is highlighting the supremacy of intellect over sheer force, akal badi ya bhais, as popularly called. We can also see it is connected to meticulous planning, shrewdness and foresight. Alright. Simultaneously, we can talk about it in terms of this concept. It is involving the very dynamics of comprehending, manipulating the opponent's psyche and exploiting the strategic vulnerabilities without resorting to warfare. I hope all of you can connect with this given dimension. All right. Now, further, when we are talking about it, we can see this philosophy, as I have highlighted the keywords, you can see that it is extending beyond the battlefield, right? And it is also applying to the very dynamics related to the competitive scenario, the conflicting scenario that we are constantly exposed by. The diplomacy that is required at all times when we are dealing with different businesses. Businesses does not mean the corporate business only. It can be related to the affairs of the state. It can be associated with the affairs of a domestic household. It can be associated with like small or large, all scales of engagement where you need to use this intellect, especially in strained, conflict-oriented situations. All right. So like you need to constantly have strategic thinking, rational thinking over and above aggression. Furthermore, we can see that the critical, like the very critical element when we are talking about such a situation, we can see that the critical moment is this, that we all can see that the opportune moment, whenever the right moment or the opportune moment comes, it is then that you should be acting upon it. Other than that, you should be patient. So you should not be turbulent and restless and constantly taking action. You should just wait, be patient. Evaluate what is required when and how, and that is how you strategize in strained situations, conflicting situations, how to respond upon the crisis or the problem. Okay, so the use of intelligence, the psychological tactics, the exhaustive plans, all of it can leave the enemy vulnerable if you are able to deal with it accordingly. Furthermore, we can understand that the ultimate goal, when we talk about it, the ultimate goal for all of us is not to engage with war. The ultimate goal should be to come across a secure, logical, a formidable, favorable and a lasting response. Something which is in the larger interest of the people and the society without compromising with their dignity and interest. All right. So we can reflect upon Gandhi's intervention when we are talking about balancing the moral principle with the noble goals, the deontological approach. We can think of it in terms of why he chose satyagraha. If we would have chosen violence as a means to protest before independence, probably we would have continued with that pattern, and after independence, overnight situations don't change. So as I always say, that because situations don't change, and if you continue to protest via violence, and via violence if we start gaining, like we can say, situations modified in our favor, that will lead to a civil war like situation. And that's why what's happening in Pakistan or Mauritius or in Myanmar is something what will happen when people themselves engage in violence, military junta, coercion, crushing down the people. So for having a healthy democracy, learning the principles of satyagraha becomes essential. So strategic thinking is required in moments of conflict and strain, inside out. Inside within the country, out with the enemy nations, or with enemy nation again is a very strained and a very crude way to say it. We can say those countries with whom we are having strained relationships. All right. Now, with respect to this, when we further move to the third topic, the topic says, you can see, thought finds a world and creates one also. Thought finds the world and creates one also. We create our own world. Thought finds the world and creates one also. And then many people will be talking about Rhonda Byrne's The Secret and manifesting our own world, right? So this is something which, like, inevitably anyone will be recalling. That's like just unavoidable. So we can connect with this given idea And the thematic similarity with previous year questions, if we see, we can find the 2024 question was the empires of the future will be the empires of the mind. So empires of the future will be empires of the mind. Thought finds the world and creates one also. So the empires of mind creating the future creates one also. You can see that, right? Again, 2022, see this. Poets are the unacknowledged legislators of the world. So who are poets? They are creating our world. They are shaping our world of ideas. They are constantly encouraging us to think that what is it that we aspire for, right? So you can recall all the, from like we can say Iqbal to Tagore, different types of thinkers shaping our reality differently, right? So in this given process, when we are further moving ahead, we can also see the 2023 question which said, thinking is like a game. It does not begin unless there is an opposite team. So that the focus on thinking, which is also the core theme of this question, which we have in 2025. See this 2016 question. Innovation is the key determinant of growth. So innovation, again based on how creative, how open, how rationally guided, how humanely guided you are. And that is how the world will get created. Innovation shall be shaping the possibility of the idea of growth. Simultaneously, the doubter is a true man of science. Again, 2024 question, thematically similar to what has been asked. So here, when we are talking about it, we all can understand that how human consciousness is embodied. It is deeply embodied by the possibility of the profound paradox that on one hand, we are guided by our reality and our thoughts are shaped by that reality, and simultaneously our thought is shaping the future. So what we are living is also a manifestation of probably what we thought previously. So on one hand, our physical like manifested reality is shaping our present, and the way we think is going to shape the future. So that's why the paradoxical reality. हम अपना सच खुद बना रहे हैं और हम जो जी रहे हैं वो हमारे वस्तु जगत की सच्चाई है. Right? So that's how we all can see that there is a balance, very in-depth thinking, and that's what is required for writing a profound essay where you are able to think, delve deeper. And that's why the mesmerizing impact that you enjoy it, and at the same time you work like more, bring more clarity. I need something more so that I'm able to engage with it better, right? That's why having a thorough habit of reading, voracious reading, and along with that being thorough with GS paper 4 is very essential, because paper 4 also encourages you to think. Other than that, for any subject when you are reading NCERT, you will see NCERT provokes you to think. It does not provide you facts. Facts is a very coaching like game whereby bullet points, chat GPT like games, right? No. When you're reading an NCERT, there are little thought boxes. So they encourage you to think. Those are the ideas you need to relevantly pick and engage when you're writing an essay. That's how the content becomes quite, like we can say, qualitatively guided. Same as book time reading or any kind of news information that you are reading which is thought-provoking. You should underline it and you should make a diary related to the same, so that such sentences are compiled under several themes and effortlessly you are recalling them whenever you are running short of content in GS or in essay, when you have to engage with a topic in an in-depth manner. Now here, as we are talking about this, so we can see that when you are discussing about the idea of thought, so we all can see that the mental nature, the mental activity has a dual shape, as we were talking about. So it has human experiences also, and it can create the perception of how the civilization ought to be, right? So that's how we can understand that thought finds a world and creates one also, as the topic goes. So the thought is finding our world, it is helping us to discover our world, it is helping us to understand our world, and is further creating the world as well, right? It is building, it is shaping the possibilities as well, right? So this duality is somewhere shaped by our human consciousness. Right? It is something which is associated with our consolidated efforts that we put to shape our future. So it can be a conscious effort, it can be a manifested effort, both. Okay, so manifested in terms of function, action, and conscious effort when we are aware of what we are thinking and we are constantly generating our thoughts in that direction, what ought to be done, in how many ways it can be done. So the thought plus action, when guided, it is shaping our civilization. So that's how we can reflect upon this given topic. Furthermore, we can see the fourth topic, which is talking about best lessons are learned through bitter experiences. Right? The truth is, when the bitter experience is going on, you don't want to taste it. You're like, oh, why is my life like this? Why am I suffering from this misery? What have I done to suffer this misery? But the truth is, once that time period is over, it is then that you realize it was the most meaningful, most learning, most enriching experience in your life, because had the hardship not come, were you not put to test, you won't have able to attain that real breakthrough, that intellectual and emotional breakthrough. And life is truly getting guided and shaped by that very breakthrough. And that's why the bitter times, the hard times are actually tough to undergo. But once you have undergone it, you understand the beauty and the essence of it, the importance of it. And that's why one should always pray that God, even if you give me hardships, give me the capability to bear it, the wisdom to fight it, and the courage to survive it, so that the lessons which has to be learnt are absorbed in totality. Anyway, on this note, when we interpret the question with thematic similarity, all of us can see these are the questions which have had a thematic similarity with it. This 2015 question, dreams which should not let India sleep, right? So what kind of thoughts ought to be there which should not let us sleep? Okay, then we can see this 2015 question guiding us to 2019 one, courage to accept and dedication to improve are two keys to success. So courage to accept, dedication to improve. Best lessons are learned through bitter experiences. So only when we have the courage to accept that we learn the bitter experience, and dedication to improve is something which can lead to a better reality in life. Similarly, ships do not sink because of water around them. What is water? Hardships, challenges, bitter experiences. So ships do not sink because of water. Ships sink because of water that gets into them, if those bitter realities engulf you. So you should not get engulfed. You should courageously fight it. You should be able to cope up with it. Again, nearly all men can stand adversity, bitter experiences. But to test the character, give him power. So one part was getting connected to the idea of adversity, bitter experiences. Giving power seems to be a very healthy and happy experience, but the truth is that it is when you have power, your resilience and responsibility is put to test. Your ethical acumen is put to test. Anyway, further we can see history repeats itself, first as a tragedy, second as a farce. So whether you learned from the bitter experiences or not is put to test in this 2021 question. Alright, as all of you can see this. So when we are talking about this very quotation, we all can connect with Tagore's quotation, whereby he said, faith is the bird that feels the light and sings when the dawn is still dark. Reflect upon this. Faith is that bird that feels the light. The moment it feels, it's about to be sunrise. Sunrise has yet not happened. Feels the light. Okay, so feels the light. Light's not there, but feels the light. And sings when the dawn is still dark. At 3:45 a.m. in summers, in Guwahati, in, like you can see, Manipur, in Kolkata around like 5 o'clock, like 4:30ish. Or so, 4:30ish, and then you move to Delhi and the same situation around 5:15 when it is still dark, because you can understand the positions of these places. So, and you can further move down south accordingly on the we can consider the same line, and you can just understand that. So this quotation, what does it imply? This implies the same dimension. Best lessons are learned through bitter experiences. Tagore. I hope all of you can connect, right? So when you are learning, then only the dawn arrives, then only like better life arrives, better experiences arrive. Anyway, so adversity, it forces us to adapt. Adversity has a lasting memory which tells us what is the do's and don'ts. The EQ and IQ gets developed in a balanced stance, right? It motivates us what kind of behavioral change we need to undergo, what kind of abstract learning we need to engage with. So that's something that it provides us with. So why are bitter experiences often providing us powerful lessons when we reflect upon it? Because bitter experiences, they encourage us to adapt according to the changing situations, the pressing situations. They build us with the resilience that is required, the resilience to cope up with the challenge, right? It also gives us that emotional refinement which is necessary, and the kind of shifts that are required to undergo that specific change. It also forces us to see another perspective, the larger perspective, or maybe something which we were missing out. And that's how we all can see adverse situations or bitter experiences, they mature us overnight. They give us that breakthrough overnight, and they give an impetus to the quality of life that we were living, the way we were engaging with this world. Okay. Further, when we are talking about this, we can see that again there is an individual touch to it. Not everyone takes the bitter experiences in the right pursuit. So it also is associated with the individual connection, that how we are connecting with the crisis and how we are probably identifying the breakthrough related to the same. So we all can understand that the unfolding of our reality is somewhere associated with the way we respond to it. It's not a guarantee to wisdom. It's not a guarantee to wisdom, but it is guiding us to the possibility that probably if you think like this, you can arrive at it. Okay. So not everyone is arriving at the wisdom. That's also there. It's all about individual processing and nature of responding to it. All right. So the alchemy of reflection and introspection, it varies from person to person, and that's why the response also varies. The nature of coping up with adversity also varies. Okay, but at the same time you should also reflect upon the fact that excessive adversity is also destructive. Beyond a point, a person cannot cope up, the resilience gives up. So if adversity is there, it should be under a bearable capacity. That's what I was speaking about, that if I get I'm stuck in adverse situations, God give me the courage to cope up with it, fight back, survive, because beyond a point, it can really break down an individual. So the struggle should be bearable. Again, we can see if the struggles are early and you learn it quick, then you are able to develop that patience to fight back the given situation. Further, we can see that it also gives you an idea that life is too precious to be wasted behind wrong decisions. So identifying the correct opportunities and moving ahead with it is possible only when we learn from the bitter experiences. And then we can also understand that difficult times, when we undergo them, they give us a deep sense of appreciation towards the humbling things we have in life, and which satiate, gratify, and bring balance to our existence. So that fills our heart with a lot of gratitude and capability to cope up with what is unfolding. Furthermore, we can see that we are able to face our personal flaws, we can say heartbreaks, in a better way, and we are able to also get into the journey of self-acceptance. All right. So I hope you could interpret the topic properly. Then we head to section B. Section B has this as the first topic: muddy water is best cleared by leaving it alone. Think about it, isn't it? Like scientifically correct, right? So if you leave the muddy water alone, then the dust particles settle down, and the water, even if not transparent, it becomes translucent. You can still see what's there, right? So literally speaking, if you understand it. And when we connect it with this given possibility to the previous year questions, the themes, we all can see the questions that have been asked so far. So there were two questions in 2020 which can be connected to it thematically. Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. Okay, so simplicity is the ultimate sophistication, and when we connect it with the given topic, muddy water is best, like when we are talking about muddy water is best cleared by leaving it alone. So when you are simple, that's a very hard to find virtuous quality in this era of globalization, and when you are simple, you are able to arrive at the most profound solutions effortlessly. That's why simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. This topic will gain greater clarity when I'm discussing it in a bit of detail just soon. Just see the thematic similarity. If you can connect, great. If you can't, you will get to understand it in greater detail later from me in the sessions. Right now, you can just reflect which ones you can connect with. This topic again seemed to be very tough. I told you 2020, 21, they were very tough. The questions were really tough philosophically. The language was also tough. One such question you can see, mindful manifesto. Manifesto, political party manifesto, all of you know the word, right? Mindful, conscious. So conscious planning is the catalyst, chemistry, remember, facilitator, enhancing the experiment. So conscious planning is the catalyst to a peaceful life. So conscious planning, the confusion that you are having in your head, that settles down. So with clarity, you can plan better, you can think better, right? So that's how mindful manifesto is the catalyst to tranquil self. All of you can see that. Similarly, your perception of me is a reflection of you. Whatever you think about me is less about me, more about you. Who you are, what kind of breakthroughs you have achieved, what kind of socialization and background you have had. Because that is what you will try to see me with, like you will try to see me from those lenses. So your perception of me is a reflection of you, your own self. And my reaction to you, my response to you is an awareness of me. And how I respond to your response is less about you and more about my level of maturity. So the way you respond is your maturity, how I respond is my maturity. And this response game is related to how quaint, how silent, how settled our mind is. Otherwise, it can lead to an ugly unfolding of conversation, ugly unfolding of unnecessary bitterness. Anyway, as we are reflecting upon it, this quotation was lifted from Alan Watts' book, The Way of Zen. And from this book, this quotation, when it was lifted, it was particularly discussing this muddy water. Okay, so when we are saying the phrase muddy water is best cleared by leaving it alone. So in the similar manner, if our mind is muddy and we leave it alone, what happens? We are sitting and meditating. If we leave it alone, the way we leave ourselves in calm resolution, that leads to the tendency of like calming our senses down, and that leads to a like quaintness, a meditative state, a meditative existence of being. So when we do away with the chaotic thinking, the confused thinking, and that is something which leads to a more settled way of reflecting upon the crisis. So we all need to understand that the original way, the natural way of solving any crisis, any problem would be that we first settle down with that crisis. We first let that crisis, as it is unfolding, we are first being patient about it and observing how things are unfolding for all of us. So when we are reflecting upon this, we need to understand what is what and how it is occurring. Then only we can come up to formidable solutions. We can make sense of the crisis. But at the same time, only sitting will not help. Only sitting is also not going to facilitate the solutions. So after interpreting the problem in depth, after understanding with due clarity what is it all about, we also need to perform the action part as well. Okay, so this was the original quotation which we all can see. The quotation went further ahead that yet it should be obvious that action without wisdom, without clear awareness of the world as it is, can never improve anything. So we not only need to understand what's happening, we also need to understand what kind of efforts are required and in what capacity it is required. All right. So I hope all of you can understand the given quotation, muddy waters, like leave it alone, and when you leave it alone, then things start becoming clearer. Okay. So most of the times we are actually, whenever there is a stressful situation or muddy situation, our brains comes under a lot of clamor, a lot of noise starts, the internal noise, chaos, confusion, unnecessary thousands of thoughts, like constantly gauging our attention and constantly, we can say, evading our logic. That's why settling down and sitting down and meditating is essential, so that we are able to judge the situation better, understand the challenges better, and we don't unnecessarily get into heated comments or unwarranted reflections. All right. Simultaneously, we can think that that's why when we are sitting and meditating, we are able to make a mindful activity, a conscious activity to solve the problem, and that further makes us more skilled to solve the crisis. And that's how we all can understand that sometimes it's essential to, rather than immediately respond or react upon a situation, we first absorb the problem in totality, understand what's happening, why is it happening, and then accordingly, after the introspection, engage with the problem with due clarity, with rational responses, logical responses, time-bound responses. All right. So that's what probably all of you can understand. This also guides us to the Buddhist philosophy, also the philosophy of, like the Buddhist philosophy, whereby we need to maintain equanimity. We need to be sthita pragya according to Gita. We have to engage in nishkama karma, whereby we are conscious, aware, alert, not attaching with the results, but understanding what the situation in totality is and doing as per need, not guided by our shallow expectations or petty desires. It is then that we take the best decisions. All right. Now, so when we are talking about this, we can further get guided to the next topic, that is, the years teach much which the days never know. The years teach much which the days never know. So here the thematic similarity can be connected to a lot of previous year questions when we are talking about it, and we can talk about this given dimension associated with the past is a permanent dimension of human consciousness and values. So the past is a permanent dimension of human consciousness and values, right? So the past is the permanent dimension of human consciousness and value. See this, the years teach much which days never know, right? That means on a daily basis, when situation is unfolding, we don't understand really that change is taking place. But bit by bit, trickle by trickle, one final day you realize wrinkles are appearing. One final day you realize your immunity is going down, or one final day you realize that probably the body is not strong enough, firm enough as it used to be. So change is happening every single day in micro units, but you are not noticing it when the days are passing by. Like you're staying every day with someone, you don't realize the person is aging, your parents are aging. But suddenly if you meet someone after a couple of years, you're like, oh, you look little older, you look little fatter, you look like a bit more wrinkled, right? So that's a very simplistic explanation if I give, that's how you can connect with it, okay? The in-depth reality, what needs to get into the topic, I'll be explaining that. Similarly, there is this 2020 question, life is a long journey between human being and being humane. So life is a long journey between human being and being humane. What does this mean? Life is a long journey between human being and being humane. This implies, like human being, the biological being, being humane, the benevolent being, okay? Our, we can say, benevolent self. And whatever we take between these two, from our biological existence to our humane, benevolent existence, whatever unfolds between this is what life is all about. This is what life has to do with what is being experienced on ground. Okay? So I hope all of you can connect with this. Life is long journey between human being and being humane. And that is what is the core concern here also. The years teach much which the days never know. So when you are performing every single day, you don't realize. But over the years, you realize whether you could become the humane self or not. Or are you still guided by the pettiness which our biological being guides us to. So all the people, all the officers who go corrupt are those people who could not overcome insecurity and like greediness. Because a person who is secure will not become corrupt. A person who is satisfied will not become corrupt. And for that you need greater awareness. And that greater awareness is the constant teaching that you have to practice to your own self. And that is how after a certain number of years you realize who you become. You may not realize it on daily basis, but you realize after a couple of years. So let us reflect upon this. So the quotation is given by Ralph Waldo Emerson. Emerson, when he gave this specific quotation, it was talking about the value of patience, the value of long-term experience, and also the long-term vision. It is then that we are able to understand that the slow process of simmering of those facts, of how the reality was unfolding before all of us, bit by bit, how it developed the cumulative understanding, how the complex reality of life started unfolding, all right, and how these, we can say, several efforts which may not be visible in a short-term basis, it started unfolding when the larger reality was there. So we should not be guided by short-term perspective of avarice, greed, selfishness, because that is something which will not add quality to our life. We need to be guided by nobler thoughts, nobler ideas, okay? That's why in civil services we have code of ethics, which is over and above code of conduct, when we have to guide ourselves what is required for us as a civil servant. Simultaneously, you can also quote Eric Foner in his book, Who Owns History? He said that history always has been and always will be regularly rewritten. Why it will be rewritten? Because it depends on the interpretation of how you are seeing the crisis, of how you are observing the journey, of how you are observing that what we were and where we have come. Right? So that's why it will be a response to our new questions, we can say information, new methodologies, new political, social and cultural imperatives. So that is something which is going to shape our reality in the times to come, in the years to come. All right? So the days, when we talk about it, the days, they represent the short-term challenges and we can consider immediate feelings that we have, and that is something which is going to unfold the kind of skills that we undergo, the kind of overcoming possibilities which are related to the failures that we undergo, and that's something which can lead to the true breakthrough. All right. So all the accumulated experiences over the age that we have undergone is associated with the word, the years. Okay. So days will never know, but in the years to come, we understand what we have undergone over the time period. So the years, it is representing the accumulation of all those experiences which have shaped us in a deeper manner. All right. So howsoever small effort it is, if it is consistent over the time period, it shall help us reap the result. I always say that whenever we are talking about the idea of wisdom, so wisdom is unfolding of darshan, dhyana, karma. Darshan, getting exposed to daily facts. Dhyana, when we introspect over those facts. And when we start implementing those subliminal realities and facts in our daily life, that is karma, the functional reality. So the consolidation of darshan, dhyana, karma leading to the wholesome wisdom of who we are and what we become. Right? So this is what we all can connect with this given dimension. I hope all of you can connect with it, and simultaneously I hope you are reading the PPT also and you're getting to learn what all insights could have been there when you are interpreting the topic. All right? Now, we can see the 7th topic. It is talking about, as all of you can see, it is best to see life as a journey, not as a destination. It is best to see life as a journey, not as a destination. Yes, that's so very true. A lot of students, they have this tendency, because of sheer innocence and lack of processing life so far with a very we can say short-term way. Students have this tendency that once I'll become an IAS officer, I shall be happy. Once I clear my 10th board, I shall be happy. Once I clear IIT, I shall be happy. So this very idea of happiness is so elusive, because you have made it a goal, and because it is a goal, that's why on daily basis you become miserable. Why to have a sad and sullen face? Why to have a droopy face? Why to have a droopy texture? How about engaging with the larger reality, how things unfold? When you start understanding that what life is all about and what kind of intervention is needed or necessary for it, it is then that you understand what kind of critical breakthrough is required in the way you are processing it or observing it or engaging with it. Most of the times we see life as something that has to be achieved. No, not achieved. It is something that has to be lived constantly. How much soever money I spend or someone else spends, can we get the previous day back? Once it's gone forever. So life is what we are living today, right now, in this moment, and as this moment unfolds. This is what life is all about. Okay, so when we start making this journey joyous, we call this word Satta Chitta Ananda. Satta, truth, Chitta, the heart, Ananda. So when we behold truth in our heart, blissfulness flows, joyousness flows, unconditional bliss. And when unconditional bliss becomes a choice, when the wise heart makes this choice, it is then that real happiness unfolds. And that's what Socrates is saying. Socrates says, first accept ignorance. After acceptance of ignorance, when you start pursuing wisdom, and when you attain wisdom, you become a virtuous person, that you attain the real happiness. Happiness which is not conditional. Happiness which is not subjective to the material reality. Happiness which is a constant choice. A constant choice. Summum bonum, Cicero. So GS paper 4, when you are becoming thorough with it, you start understanding from Indian and Western philosophy, from Satta Chitta Ananda to Socrates, you start beholding that, and when you understand that, you understand this basic essence of this topic, that is, it is best to see life as a journey and not as a destination. A thematic similarity can be observed with respect to the previous question, like not all who wander are lost. So all the people who are in a quest, it may be, the word is wander. So you're in a search. It's not like random pursuit. It's not a journey also whereby you are arriving at a destination. So all those people who are wandering, they may be in their own curiosity driven, creative journey which is unfolding for themselves. That's why not all who are wandering are lost. There are philosophers, scientists, seers, poets, intellectuals and think tanks from all the world who are associated with it. Simultaneously, this 2024 question, you can see this, there is no path to happiness. Happiness is the path. So journey, destination, you can see that. A good life is one inspired by love and guided by knowledge. So how should life be lived? The very essence, the very theme also asked in 2018. Life is a long journey between human being and being humane. Life is a long journey between human being and being humane. I just discussed it in the previous topic. So from biological being to the ideal being, and the in-between journey is what life is all about. So life is a journey, it's not a destination. So life is a journey and not a destination means life is unfolding with the experiences, growth, insights that we are constantly gaining. The everyday moment is constantly shaping who we are and what we become, right? So that's the given idea that we are talking about, okay? And the process is quite rich. The process is what we can understand, which is going to provide we can consider a specific level of insight and identity, and that is what is going to shape our wholesome reality per se. Again, we can see the beauty and lessons of life. Okay, so the beauty and lessons of life are found in the small moments and experiences, and not solely in the future achievements. I hope you can connect with this, right? So the beauty and lessons of life are found in the small moments, because this is what life is. This is how it unfolds, right? And the person you become and the lessons that you learn is while pursuing those goals. All right? It is, the goals are not so important. The lessons that are being learned, the process that is being lived is more important, more noble than the goals themselves. Simultaneously, we can see hardships, setbacks, failures, they are not ultimate in nature. You have to understand that, because they are constantly building resilience in us. They are constantly making us capable to fight back. And that's why it is essential for all of us to understand that life is more about the journey. When we are discovering ourselves, knowing about ourselves, when we are appreciating ourselves and learning from the very process, that's what life is, and that's what is like the beauty of how it unfolds. So finally, when we are talking about this, the perspective that we need to have in terms of life is what is being lived. We understand that through that we are able to not only reduce the stress that we undergo, because what would be the outcome if we are living life like this, when we are not seeing it as a destination but as a journey? First, every single day will be a fulfilling experience, a balanced experience. It won't be a struggle, it won't be a strain. Constantly we can understand, we'll be able to build our character, we'll be able to shape our character from all the challenges and all the situations that we explore and navigate, right? So ups and downs in life, they will be helping us to shape who we become and how we become. And then finally we can also understand that this is what will finally promote our wholesome well-being. This is something which is going to really shape who we end up becoming, right? And moreover, we can understand this is something which is going to create a lasting impact by a list of memories that we nurture on our path, on our way to this journey called life, not the destination life, not the happiness, rather what we are experiencing on ground. That's what life is all about, right? And then the final topic, the 8th topic, which all of you can see, contentment is natural wealth, luxury is an artificial poverty. Contentment is natural wealth. You must be realizing, a couple of minutes back I said this, given insight that officers who become corrupt are people who are dissatisfied and insecure. So contentment is natural wealth. संतुष्ट व्यक्ति होना आपको अमीर बनाता है. Okay? And luxury is artificial poverty, because you are trying to prove something with that luxury. Because luxury can be attained even in the simplest things. You don't have to own like a Balenciaga or a Prada or a Louis Vuitton or a Christian Dior to prove a point. You can be comfortable even with the most humbling cotton cloth bags, right? So what I imply to say is that contentment is natural wealth, effortless wealth, like the natural outcome. And when we are talking about it, luxury is artificial poverty. Let's engage first with the thematic similarity, and then what more can be written in the topic as we are exploring our journey. So there was this 17 question first, let's see. Joy is the simplest form of gratitude. Simplest form of gratitude, simple. Life is not about luxury, right? So life is more about understanding the simplicity of it. Again, you can say philosophy of wantlessness is utopian, while materialism is a chimera. I told you 2021 topics, they were quite exhaustive in their language. Themes were similar, but exhaustive in their language. So philosophy of wantlessness, not having any desire, is also utopian, too idealistic, too good to be true. While materialism is a chimera. Chimera is myth. Okay, so too much of materialism is also illusion. It is disillusionment. You get caught up in the illusion because you never understand where the illusion will get over. You never know, like people, I mean, when I was in 2014-15, when I used to read in the newspapers that some fellow sold his kidney to buy an iPhone. At that time, I don't know, iPhone 10 or something was getting launched. So I was like, God, but iPhone will upgrade itself. And every time the iPhone is getting upgraded, what will this person do about the kidney? So that's what. When we are talking about materialism, it's a chimera. Chimera is a mythological creature, half animal, half human being. But here chimera means maya, like a virtual or an illusionary reality. Okay, so something which is not real seems to be real. That's what chimera is over here implying. And that's how you can connect it with this given topic, that contentment is natural wealth. Okay, philosophy of wantlessness. Wantlessness will come with contentment. But wantlessness, you are completely not needing anything. That's why it's utopian. But contentment, you'll have something and then become satisfied. Whereas luxury means too much of materialism. Okay, that is a chimera. Now here, joy is simplest form of gratitude. We have already seen this. Customary morality cannot be a guide to modern life. Customary morality cannot be a guide to modern life. Sometimes our customs, traditions, family, our background, it encourages us that the more materialistic wealth you have, the more successful you are, the more happy you shall be considered. But is it true? That's the question. Is it true? So this given question guides us to the given dimension of this topic. So first, what is contentment? How it is a natural wealth? So when we are talking about this, we all can understand that contentment, the very idea, it is associated with satisfaction. Satisfaction can be understood and achieved by a person having gratitude in heart, having thankfulness in heart. That person can get closer to understanding the perpetual satisfaction which one needs to engage with when one has to become sthita pragya. Okay, means not becoming exuberant in happiness whenever a happy situation or incident unfolds. You don't become exuberant in it, and you don't become too lost, you don't become too sad in sadness. You are able to maintain that equanimity. Okay, so such an individual is the one who is having deep sense of gratitude towards what's there, towards what life is all about. The person is not falsifying the present moment with all that one has achieved so far in the journey called life. All right, so that's something you need to understand. And what is artificial poverty? So I have just given this insight. So natural wealth, contentment is natural wealth. So natural wealth is the inner state of being. Naturally we are like people who choose peace. We love to sleep peacefully, eat peacefully, be peacefully with our friends, with our neighbors, with our family. So the state of being at peace, needing like less will always keep you fulfilled. I have enough. I am well taken care of by nature, by God, by parents, by everything that's flowing around me. That's enough. So that idea of feeling fulfilled. And what is artificial poverty? So we can see it is when there's no dearth of material possession, but you're constantly feeling unsatisfied, angered, helpless, belittled, getting poked by friends who are posting something unnecessary on social media, or classmates bullying or passing negative comments, or friends sometimes being caustic in their remarks. Caustic means मतलब जहरीले remarks लगा रहे हैं, ठीक है? So when we are talking about all those given situations, we all can connect with people who are unable to understand what the world is all about, and such individuals soak up in artificial poverty. This poverty, this dearth, this deficiency is not real. This is something which is self-imposed because of lack of that mental empowerment, that emotional empowerment. All right. So that's why contentment is not only associated with the dimension of satisfaction and gratitude, it is also like acknowledging all that you have and how you are able to understand the beauty of what all you have been able to surrounded by. That's how you are going to appreciate the different challenges that life throws upon you, and the inner strength guides you to cope up with it. In the similar manner, when we say luxury is artificial poverty, we imply to say that luxury can never get over. Like every time you think that, oh, this is something which is a luxury item, there's something super, like people like think of, like let's say Rolex as a luxury watch, booking it 1 year in advance, paying like 15-20 lakh rupees, and they might be feeling that, oh, I own a Rolex. And then comes Patek Philippe, and the Patek Philippe starts with 5 crore. So 20 lakh rakho apna. So the very idea of luxury, it's so artificial. And that's how artificial poverty gets generated. So there is the desires, the material desires can never get fulfilled. I recently was reading Balenciaga had launched a 14 lakh bag to just dispose trash of your house. I was like, wow, slow claps to that. So that's what? Insatiable desire. Again, we can see, why do we like engage in luxury goods? Because we want to get some validation. Oh, you are doing well in life. You are like having a rich lifestyle. Why do we need like external validation to prove that we are living a good life? To prove that we are having a very high status. We are having like a very fulfilling journey. Happiness, in fact, can be derived in very simple, basic elements in life, basic things in life. All right. So I hope all of you can connect with that. And then the illusion of wealth. So a person might have a lot of abundance. Ask the Ambanis, are they always happy? Money cannot buy happiness. A very popular, rugged quotation because of overusage. But the truth lies in this, that no person, even Buddha said, no creature born in this life is free from dukkha. He was himself a prince, mind it. So not a person who was denied of basic things and talking about like luxury and all. When he spoke it, it came with that clarity and conviction. Whoever you are, wherever you are, constantly some or the other form of misery will keep chasing you. You'll never be free from misery. You have to understand that. And that is what this topic is talking about, that whenever we are talking about luxury, luxury is never ending. So what is actually required is the profound sense of gratitude which can fulfill the heart with a lot of love, abundance and contentment. And that is what the essence of the topic is, celebrate the journey, right? So thank you so much. I hope this discussion was meaningful. It was quite helpful for all of you. All right. So God bless and take care. Let's meet again in the future sessions. Thank you so much.